Even if you're normally a happy, motivated, and generally high energy person, it's likely that at some point in your life, you're gonna find yourself in a rut. You know, a period of time where you feel listless and demotivated. You feel burnt out. You don't know what to do with yourself, and you don't really feel like doing anything. And now you're wondering to yourself, how did I get here? And more importantly, how do I get out of this rut? Well, I have certainly gone through my fair share of ruts and listless periods in my life before, so what I want to do with this video is share a few of the things that have helped me get myself out of them. Now, before we get into it, I do want to note that I think there is a big difference between a temporary rut and actual depression. And if you feel like what you're experiencing is actual depression, well, the tips in this video may end up helping you, but I don't want to come off as saying that they are the be-all end-all solutions, because this is obviously a much more complicated and serious condition. So in addition to what I'm going to share in this video, I'm also going to have a link in the description down below to a resource written by a much more qualified person that you might want to check out. The first strategy that I want to talk about here, and something that almost never fails to lift my spirits and get me out of the ruts that I sometimes find myself in, is maintaining relationships with people who inspire you. This is something that all of us need to be doing. And to punctuate that, I want to share a passage from Ray Dalio's excellent book, Principles. Meaningful work and meaningful relationships aren't just nice things we choose for ourselves. They are genetically programmed into us. The meaningful relationships we get from social cooperation make us happier, healthier, and more productive. Social cooperation is also integral to effective work. It is one of the defining characteristics of being human. And one thing that I want to point out here is that you might not be getting these types of interactions from your normal everyday friend group. One thing that I realized about my friend group in college is that while I loved my friends dearly, a lot of our interactions basically boiled down to playing video games together and sharing references and inside jokes that we'd said a million times before. And those kind of interactions, while fun and a good reminder that you're inside your comfort zone, that you're safe, are not challenging. They're not inspiring. They don't really give you that sense of purpose that keeps you from falling into a rut. When all of your interactions on a day-to-day basis are only of that kind, it's almost as if you've locked the part of your brain that craves growth and challenges into solitary confinement. And a lot of studies have conclusively proven that solitary confinement, like the real kind, has really bad psychological consequences, can cause brain damage. Now, obviously, we're not talking about the exact same kind of thing here, we're just kind of making a metaphor, but you can see how locking that part of your brain away, denying it those types of relationships and interactions for a long time, can negatively impact your mental state. Now, if your friend group is like mine, it does not mean you need to go ditch your friends and try to find friends who are super productive all the time. But what it does mean is that you need to spend at least some of your time seeking out interactions with people who are doing inspiring and challenging things, the kind of things that are going to motivate you to go stretch your own capabilities. I'm reminded of this every single time I go to a professional conference like VidCon, or even when I just get on Skype and chat with one of my entrepreneur friends. I always come away from these conversations feeling energized and brimming with new ideas. So if you find yourself in a rut, one way that you can start to get yourself out of it is to seek out these types of conversations and interactions with people who are going to challenge you and inspire you. One way can be to go to events, whether it's something across the country like VidCon or just a local organization in your town or a club at your school. But something even easier is just to reach out to a friend you haven't talked to in a while and ask them to catch up. My friend Ben Altman, who's one of the guys who runs the Charisma on Command channel, actually did this to me a couple of weeks ago. He emailed me, said, "Hey, we haven't caught up in a while, let's set up a time to chat on the phone." And then last week we had a great conversation, and I came away from that conversation really motivated, and I bet he did too. And if you want to get the benefits of these types of conversations on a regular basis, then one thing you can do is set up what I like to call a Jedi Council. Now, if you're the kind of person who's into reading all those other personal development blogs and books out there, and you listen to all the other gurus, quote unquote, then you're probably going to hear this called mastermind groups. But I think that term is kind of cringy and way too businessy, so I'm going with Jedi Councils. Basically, this is a pre-planned conversation that happens maybe every week or every 2 weeks, or maybe even every month, with people who inspire you, people who have the same values, people at maybe the same level of professional development, people with whom you can swap feedback on projects and stay mutually accountable. I actually have one of these set up every single week on Thursdays with my friends Andrew and Matt, and these conversations are incredibly useful for both my business's success, but also my level of personal motivation. But even if you don't want to go as far as setting up a Jedi Council, I do encourage you to call a friend sometime this week and just have a casual conversation. All right, the next strategy we're going to talk about is giving yourself permission to take a break or a vacation. And I want to put emphasis on that word permission. See, I think one of the biggest culprits for us falling into ruts is that we put too much on our plate. We expect too much of ourselves, and then we find ourselves constantly behind and constantly stressed. This is incredibly common for students, and it's incredibly common for anybody who's really ambitious in their career. And when we're constantly in this state, we are putting chronic stress on our bodies and our minds. This can lead to burnout, and this can lead to feeling like we really don't have any motivation to do anything. And I think the solution to this problem is to take an actual planned break, something that you, again, give yourself permission to do. And this is something that I kind of ignored for a really long time. I didn't take a real actual vacation from halfway through 2016 until halfway through 2018, a period of 2 years. Now, during that period, I did definitely travel a lot, but it was always for business. And anytime a travel opportunity came up, I would only take it if there was a business reason for it. Be it flying out to speak at a conference or going to New York just a month ago to record my audiobook, it was always business when it came to travel for me. Now, I took little small breaks, but I never really gave myself permission to take an extended break from my work. So finally, in May of last year, my girlfriend hounded me enough and we booked an actual vacation to San Diego for about a week. And other than one day where I took the opportunity to see somebody out there who I really liked and looked up to, we spent the rest of that entire time just relaxing. I surfed, I ate at restaurants, I hung out and played video games. That was about it. And when I got home from that vacation, I was reminded of just how useful vacations could be, because I found myself having a lot more motivation both for my work, but also for staying consistent on my daily healthy habits. I found it much easier to consistently go to the gym and work out, to read more often, to go for bike rides so I get my Strava miles, and to follow a healthier diet. And the reason for this, which I will now take much more seriously in the future, is that we operate on cycles of work and rest. Just like on a daily timescale, we need to work and have waking hours and then go to sleep. On a larger timescale, we need to have periods of work and intensity and then periods of relaxation so we can basically recharge our batteries. So if you're in a rut and you believe the reasons that you're burned out from chronic stress, give yourself permission to take a break. And it doesn't have to be something big or crazy like flying out to San Diego for a surfing vacation. My best friend Martin, just a couple of months ago, actually booked a hotel room in our city of Denver for one night just so he could get out of his apartment and be near a bookstore that he really liked. And while that was much less expensive and didn't require him to take any time off of work, he still got the same benefits. All right, the final tactic I want to talk about here is exploring a new interest, because whenever I find myself in a rut, it's usually because I feel like I've stagnated. I haven't learned something new in quite a while, and I don't really know what I'm doing with myself, and life kind of feels boring. But the moment that I kind of pull on a thread of interest and let it take me somewhere, that's when life starts to feel exciting again. That's when I start learning new things, and I'm really, really motivated and just basically psyched about life in general. So to give you guys an example for this idea, let's rewind the clocks about a year, because last July and last August, I found myself in a pretty bad rut. I felt listless. I felt like I didn't really know what to do with myself. And it was kind of weird because I had moved to Denver about 4 months prior. And because of that, I kind of had this feeling like life was supposed to be awesome all the time since I lived in this awesome city, but that wasn't the case. Now, luckily, around that time, my friend Alex flew out from Texas to visit me with another one of his friends. And of course, we did all the cool Colorado things. We went hiking. We went to all the cool restaurants here in Denver. But at one point during his visit, we also ended up talking about something that was a big interest of his at the time, which was blockchain and cryptocurrency. And this was an area that I really had no interest in myself at the time. I had never really dabbled in it. It seemed really complicated, but because I wanted to have a good conversation with my friend, I heard him out. And after the conversation, I started getting a little bit interested in the subject. Not a lot, but a little bit. And I know from experience, when I get a little bit of interest, I should pull on that little thread because, again, you don't have innate passions, right? You have little bits of interest that you explore, and then maybe that turns into something bigger. Interest is like a little fire, right? You have to fuel it, you have to feed it so it can get bigger until it's eventually something that is burning very brightly. So I went and did some reading. I started reading some tutorial articles, some basic stuff, and I got a little bit more interested. And then I went and read the original Bitcoin white paper and got a little bit more interested. And it didn't even stop there. My interest eventually grew to include cryptography as a general subject. I went and read books like The Code Book, which made it onto my 2017 favorite books list. Fantastic book, by the way. And I even remember at one point trying to code my own encryption algorithm in JavaScript one afternoon just because I was curious and I wanted to see if I could do it. Now, I'm not trying to say that the way you're going to get yourself out of a rut is to go learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. That's just one particular thing that caught my interest, and I honestly have a lot of interests. Later that year, my interest in cryptocurrency and cryptography eventually faded, and then I got really into cooking, and I spent a ton of time learning how to cook, learning the science of cooking, learning tons of recipes, and that was yet another time in my life life where I was not in a rut and I was very motivated and very happy. All I'm trying to say here is that when you find yourself in a rut, one of the likely causes of it is that you're stagnating. You haven't learned something in a while. So if a thread of interest presents itself in any shape or form, tug on it no matter how thin it is, because it might take you somewhere really interesting. And it's worth noting that learning new things on a constant basis could also lead you to a useful new skill that could even change the trajectory of your career. Like maybe you have an interest in learning how digital animation works. Well, why not learn how to go out and do that yourself? As someone who dabbles in digital animation personally with programs like After Effects, I've learned that this is a really useful skill that not only helps me make higher quality videos, but could also help me land a job if I ever needed one. And with a skill like digital animation and an increasingly large number of others, you don't have to go to school or enroll in a big formal program to get really good at it. There are a ton of great resources online that you can use to start learning, and one of the best ones out there is Skillshare. While they have a huge library of over 20,000 courses spanning a ton of different skill areas, Skillshare's selection of digital animation courses is particularly strong. One of my favorites is Jake Bartlett's course on animating with light in After Effects, which teaches you these really cool neon lighting techniques that seem impossibly difficult to pull off at first, until of course you learn the relatively simple techniques behind them. You'll also find more comprehensive animation courses if you're a beginner, and complementary courses on skills like video editing and mastering vector illustration. And naturally, with such a big library, you'll also find courses on photography and programming and business and marketing and a ton of different skill areas. And the best part is that almost all of their courses include hands-on challenges, sample projects, and an area where you can get feedback and ask questions. So if you want to start learning new skills, then Skillshare is the place to do it. And if you're among the first 500 people who click the link in the description down below and sign up, you're going to get a 2-month free trial with unlimited access to their library. I want to give a big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and being a continued supporter of this channel, and hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, definitely give it a like to support this channel, and you can also subscribe right there if you don't want to miss out on new videos when they come out every single week. You can also click right there to get a free copy of my book on how to earn better grades, or click right over here for one more video on this channel. Last but not least, you can follow me on Instagram if you have not done so already, right over there, and I will see you in next week's video.